Hello and welcome to the Alchemist Inkwell.
This is your spiritual podcast for grounded people.
We are recording this on 7/22, the Monday after Sunday of 7/21. I am stating that up front so you guys know where in time we are speaking from
Yeah.
as we talk about what we're going to talk about on this episode. Because, like yesterday, our time was a doozy, right?
It was. Yeah, that's why we're inserting this episode into the we were trying to do things ahead of time because we will be in Japan. Yay. Hi, Japan people. I'm so excited to see you in a couple days.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
today, if you're listening to this when it pre-releases on Patreon. Hi, we're gonna see you like, I don't know, still Friday or Saturday, but whatever, soon, very soon.
Yeah.
And and then the weekend happened. And I'm really, again, we've talked about this a couple times, and it's been hard not to talk about it. We are not always
Mhm.
going to talk about it. This is not all of a sudden going to be a current events podcast or anything like that, but it would be a disservice to everybody in their spiritual processing and spiritual process not to acknowledge reality. So
Mhm.
that's one of the things we are doing because so many crazy things are happening, so many poignant moments are happening. And yes, there is astrology for that. And yes, intuitively, we both did have pings. Em had a call where live, there are receipts for validation for M's predictions. And I have a text message chain where I was like, hey, there's going to be a 180 decision today around the individual who made a 180 decision yesterday. And so it's what a time to be someone in a divinatory practice.
It's wild, honestly. Yeah. So I was on a Q&A call with my top tier Patreons yesterday, and it was really weird because ordinarily I do those on Saturday, but my guides were very clear I needed to do it on Sunday. And I was like, okay, I'll do it on Sunday then. Like we'll move it to Sunday, it'll be fine. Move it to Sunday, very specific time slot. I opened the call with basically talking about my predictions for the next couple years because talk to your patrons, they consented the whole thing of kind of what's going on. And I talked a lot about how I deeply felt that Biden was going to step down that day or the next day, full moon, and how the energy of that was like shifting and um different predictions for who I think we're going to end up being voting on, whatever. And then I was like, okay, we'll open it up for questions. So I paused for like 10 seconds. Someone asked a question, and then someone unmutes and goes, hey, so he just did. Good job. I'm like, awesome. I'm really glad I had that recorded. That was freaking
Mhm.
nifty. But that's just for you guys to know. Like, that's one of those things Krista and I both had. So it was yay good, awesome, a bunch of different reasons why that was really good. That was really fantastic, really awesome. We kind of could pick up on that. We saw it in the divination that we were doing. It's warned me of that. Like we all got really comfortable, I guess, with that. Like it not comfortable, but it felt good. Like to be like, awesome, cool, moving forward. But
Mhm.
also like there's a lot of stuff coming up, especially in the next like 2, 3 months.
Mhm.
And we're gonna talk about it here just to tell you guys, like you're gonna see the spiritual, we're gonna call them the astrology girlies, gender
Yeah.
non-distinct, but the
And
astrology girlies
practice
and the
non-distinct.
spiritual girlies
Yeah.
um absolutely popping off to capitalize for views. And it's going to be really unhealthy and lead to a lot of pain, in
Mhm.
our opinion.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
also going to really play off of people's fears. And that's,
mm-hmm.
I want to put this out there for the people who are the spiritual social media posters and the astrology social media posters who are posting about this. I'm going to assume they're doing it out of excitement. I'm going to
Yeah.
assume they're doing it out of kind of getting a little ahead of themselves. I do not
Mm-hmm.
think they're doing it to fearmonger. I
No.
do think that the views are definitely something that they will be excited to be able to have an opportunity to get. And so that motivation has side effects. But I don't even apologize, but I acknowledge you're not going to see that from an account like mine because literally ancient astrologers put curses on people who share astrology just for the purposes of getting attention and who share astrology to the people who did not ask for it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Valens being one of them. Whoever authored the Picatrix, we don't know. It's called Picatrix, but it's an astrological magic text. It literally, the author of Picatrix asks forgiveness from the creator for the happenstance that that book gets in the wrong hands and someone who doesn't know what they're doing does something wrong with it. They thought they were going to be cursed and condemned
Yeah.
because of who could potentially read this book. And I know many other of the traditional astrologers were like, hey, don't do this super publicly. It's a cadent thing. Astrology is in the ninth house, which is a cadent house, which is sort of a liminal space. It's not out in the open. And this has been one of my primary struggles, knowing that social media really likes hype and not having the,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot bring myself to go against these ancients whom I've also channeled to be like, hey, is this what you meant? How did this, how do you react to this? What's going on? And and I know, Em, you have a very similar integrity of just like, we're not going to use your emotions against you for the sake of like viral views and things. I
Yeah.
would
Which,
rather keep it into the Patreon where I do have a full document that is being edited and updated and has predictive stuff in it for the students who
yeah.
acknowledge that they're there for that.
But, and again, Captain Patreon was talking to my top tier about it.
Exactly.
But I will say with that too, if you're someone who wants to post about this, post about it. It's totally up to you. Like, we're not going to tell you like what to do. Just try to do it with the intent of like not necessarily like leaving room for error is what I'm going to say. Post with the intent that you are leaving room for error, because a lot of people are saying this is what's going to happen and this is how it's going to happen and whatever. And that's like all that. Think about the fact that you could have a 12-year-old girl see that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just sit with that for a second before you like fully post it. Like, that is a significant possibility if you're posting those types of things. And that can make like serious impression. Like, that's what I have in mind whenever I post something about the future in general or things coming up, is I'm always trying to present it in a way I would want it presented to my kids, because kids are probably going to see it. And that can be really fucked up for kids to process through. So if you want to post about it, by all means post about it. We're not trying to say like don't post, like if you post you're bad or whatever. Like, that's not it at all. It's just the people that we're talking about are going to very much try to make a name on
Mm-hmm.
predicting the election.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh and we saw someone we both saw someone be like, oh, it's okay, in 6 months we'll be fine. And both of us were like, ah.
And to that point, and we are
What?
going to talk about this more,
Yeah.
will we be fine individually? Many of us will be. Life
Mm-hmm.
happens to all of us. So, like, yes, changes are going to come and hard times are going to
Yeah.
come based on individual experiences.
Yeah.
Overall, we still maintain the power over our own individual lives in the context of the greater social scheme of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, had I been one of the consulted astrology people, I would have said, listen, we are living in an incredible sequence of years right now. And there's a lot of power for the people here, especially in this year's Aries ingress. The
Yeah.
people are in the position of like in the place of the king in the chart. Like you'll be able to see it in the document if you're a student on the Patreon, if you're looking for those details, they exist. But the people have so much to say. Your power now is stronger than it's ever been. Is it stressful? Yeah, it's stressful. But it's this moment of being able to make change, being able
Mm-hmm.
to see what you want be put into action. And so, yeah, it's change and it's uncomfortable and all of these things, but you've never been more in astrology and in horary astrology. When you ask a question, you have to confirm that it's radical, that it is the time to ask the question. Radical means able to be acted upon, not going nuts. This is the most radical time, the most active, able to be acted upon time. This and in some years coming after that we will probably see in our lifetimes and that we have
Mm-hmm.
seen in the past couple decades. It's incredible. We came here for this. What a time to
Yep.
be alive. And
Yep.
just remember your power in all of it, because you're going to see things that you're super stoked about and you're going to see things that make you want to take action. And you'll be able to
Mm-hmm.
have that alignment of saying, I know what action I want to take because I realize that I'm in my power.
Yeah. I think, and I was mentioning this to Krista before on the call, and I've said this to other people too. We are the only generation, the only humans ever in existence to who believe that comfort is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, truly, we are constantly in this state of like trying to get back to comfortable and being comfortable and feeling safe and secure and comfortable. And yes, obviously we want that. There's a human nature element to wanting that, but we believe that that is like how things should be. Like, that is our normal, that we should have these things. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't. However, every other generation of humans that have ever existed on the face of this planet understood that discomfort, random things happening, the need to adjust rapidly because of discomfort, was the norm and is the norm and is the condition of this layer of the universe case. Being uncomfortable is part of the reason that we come here.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely, discomfort exists here unlike it exists basically anywhere else in the universe. That is a huge reason that we come, is to experience it in all its forms and grow through it. That's the whole thing. It
Yeah.
is the most earth thing there is. It is the most incarnated, like, every animal understands discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Every animal on the whole planet understands discomfort. And yet, for the first time, we're having to look at ourselves and be like, oh, crap, we can't just find comfort on the side of the road like we thought we would. Like, we have to actually, like, fight for it. Things are going to be uncomfortable. And we're having a really hard time adjusting to the fact that things are uncomfortable. And, like, that's why I think this whole, I hate using the term unprecedented, because I'm like, yeah, stuff changed
Yeah.
and new stuff happened and more stuff changed and more new stuff happened. And it's going to be that way for the foreseeable future. And that's not bad. I'm not upset about it. I'm not anxious about it. Honestly, I'm like, okay, all right, then I'm going to work on processing through discomfort. I'm going to feel better being uncomfortable and know that that is a good thing for me in a lot of ways. And I'm going to figure out the ways that I am uncomfortable and how I can grow through that myself, if that's what we're trying to learn, like if that's what we're supposed to be doing. And that's what I highly encourage all of you to do too, because it's part of being a human. And we've tried to disconnect ourselves from that so significantly.
I like the discarnate, like
You're
disincarnate.
right. Disconnect ourselves from that so significantly because it doesn't feel the best. And those in power have used that completely to their advantage to make us as docile as possible. And that's not a conspiracy theory. That's just true. Like,
Mhm.
everything's at your fingers. You can have this at the moment's grass so you need it. You can do this. Just don't ask questions. Just don't go
Mhm.
look over here. Just don't do this thing. Like, that's just a normal exchange at this point in time. And it doesn't matter where in the world you are. That's still a thing.
Mhm.
And so I don't know. I've really been focusing a lot on that of like, okay, how do I make it okay enough for me? Well, I understand that I can be uncomfortable and still be fine. I understand that throughout discomfort, good things happen. And so
Mhm.
that has been a personal goal and theme of mine for the last like 3 years of how to navigate that once it was like, oh, COVID happened and that was uncomfortable. That's not going to go away. That's not going to get fixed. And COVID's still around, even, like it's not going to be better just because it's now less
Yeah.
illness. So, and now everything, keep happening and changing, whatever. And so it's something I personally focused on. And I just highly recommend that. And when you hear people say, like, don't worry, it'll all be fine, it will all be fine. We will still be here in 6 months. Things
Mhm.
will still be moving forward in 6 months.
Yeah.
It will be fine in that sense. But I think the fine that keeps getting talked about is like, it's all going to be better and
Mhm.
normal and go back to being comfortable. And I'm going to just straight up saying it. No, it's
Yeah.
not gonna. And that shouldn't be a bad thing. And we shouldn't view it as a bad thing. We should view that as a thing that brings humans together and is
Mhm.
essential to our being and why we need community and why we need other people. Because the place we find comfort is in other humans. We are herd animals. And that's another thing that we forgot and have been deprived of.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, and to speak to that, everybody's been saying for the past, let's say, 4 years, um, that we've been, entering into the age of Aquarius, and we should all be coming together as humanity and as society, and blah blah blah. And we're a couple hundred years off of the actual age of Aquarius by precession, but we are in a very Aquarian era. We are in a
Mhm.
very air era, and if you want that connectivity, start connecting with people, start seeing eye to eye with people, having conversations with people who think the same as you for comfort, sure, and who think differently, and then find common ground without attacking each other. And I'm not saying that individually to the person who's watching, like making eye contact with me through the camera or hearing this in their headphones right now. I'm saying this to us as a society. If you want your age of Aquarius where everybody has peace, which by the way is more age of Pisces, which we are currently in, um have it. Like, let's start building that. Let's work towards it. It's just like a marriage or a relationship where every day you wake up and you choose to be invested in this relationship.
Mhm.
And it's not always the easiest day, and it's not always the easiest moment to be patient through, but you choose to say, you know what, this is worth it. So I'm going to endure this moment, and I'm going to find a way to make a situation out of it where now we have a story of how we became stronger, and we can recognize when we're in the good times. One of my favorite things to acknowledge was when we were in Greece. By the way, hey to everybody who was in Greece. I miss you guys. Hi, Malcolm. Um, while we were in Greece, they pointed out that there was a period of Grecian history where they were aware they were in a golden era and they started carving smiles on their statues. And eventually those smiles did go to a stone face again, pun intended. And so,
Good
so
job.
what they did, thank you. What they did was they said, we know this is a good period of time, and we want to be able to really claim this good period of time because we know it's not the norm, like you said. So
Hmm.
we're going to claim that. And also just to acknowledge, if you do find yourself nostalgic for a certain era or decade, because that's when everything was fine, there is a group of people out there that probably wasn't as fine as you think
Yeah.
that decade may have been. And so
Yep.
just knowing that it's, sometimes we are uncomfortable in our own turn, and you will have
Yeah.
really challenging global moments where you have the best time of your life. Lots of people had that experience in 2020. It's like best year of my personal life, really crappy for the world. Uh,
Hmm.
I've heard that over and over again. And then you will have challenging moments in golden eras. That's how the world works. It's an up and down and an experience. Living and being alive is an initiation. And that's an honor at the same time. And I know that that sounds a little wishy-washy, but I can't help but feel that way when I
No,
think
I
about
don't think it does. I also think it's valuable to note too, like that's part of the reason why we talk about like, hey, all this spiritual stuff should be fun.
it.
Oh,
Mhm.
yawn. Oh, I did yawn, sorry. But that's why all this spiritual stuff should be fun. That's why this should be one of those areas where the energy you throw at it is exciting and fun and playful and silly, and you're gonna get so much more out of it and grow so much more that way because it's supposed to be that way. It's this like guiding energy to like get you through a lot of the stuff that is harder to be a person and eat and work and whatever you have to do. So I mean that's what you lean in on. And I will say the energy of the full moon on Sunday, I hope all you guys felt it. It was so jittery. Like I felt like I drank 8 cups of coffee all day long. I
Mhm.
hadn't, by the way. Not saying there's days that I don't, but I hadn't yesterday. Um, and it was so much energy. I was physically shaking.
Mhm.
And I was doing some really cool, exciting stuff. Actually, I'll just tell you guys. I was querying my book to a bunch of agents because I'm at that point where it's that level of done that I'm
Yay.
trying to seek representation for it. Thank you. Well, I really my big events of my life always coincide with the full moon on accident. Every time it's on accident. Like you have some awesome planning around your astrology stuff. Mine just happens to be on a full fucking moon. And I mean, there's higher stuff, weird reasons about that I won't go into. But but
Get that.
it's been like when I looked at the house for the very first time, the day I saw the house for the very first time, the day that we signed the papers on the house,
Mhm.
the day I got married, like all these like huge things. I even have a tattoo on my back of a full moon. It's actually a blood moon, so it's an eclipse. Because the first time I finished writing a book that had just my name on it, I was a ghostwriter for before, so I wrote books before that didn't have my name on it, and then I wrote one that had my name on it. That the day I finished that was a full moon eclipse. Like it's a thing for me. So yesterday I was like, well, if I have all this energy, I had already planned to submit some of these queries on Sunday because it was the only day I could do it. But we were going to Japan, and I was like, oh, so it happens to be a full moon. Pop off. That means it's really cool energy. But then in feeling the energy, I was like, oh no, it is. Like it is magnifying energy. It is taking a step forward into the next chapter of the book. It is like little stuff that you may have put out there. Like if you thought about any sort of dream you have or anything you'd wish would happen or anything you'd like to do yesterday, like it's gonna magnify. Like it feels really, really cool energetically. So getting to do that, sit there. It was super exciting and it's already like growing and it's already feeling good and I'm already getting a response and it feels amazing, which is atypical. Don't, if you're
Mhm.
creating
Yeah.
books, don't think that that's normal. It's not. I
Yeah.
was
We
like,
threw a
whoa.
mini party for M
Yeah.
because well deserved
Thank
for
you.
a response that fast. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I'm really thrilled about it. But still, I was like, okay, so this is, kind of what we're supposed to be doing. And obviously, like the stuff happened on a societal stage as well.
Mhm.
It was very interesting. But anyway, all of that is to say, if the full moon felt like very intense for you yesterday, or, it wouldn't be yesterday for you, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, it
Mhm.
was. It
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily intense bad, but it was intense. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. It was so funny because I was supposed to be resting this weekend, but then astrology said, "Hey, there's stuff happening." And I was like, "Well, I've got to write about this for the patron." So I was working on my document, and just there's so much to do, and it's so fun because, like I
Mhm.
said, if you are someone in a divinatory practice or in a spiritual practice, observing the world is such a big part of the
Yeah.
fascination of working with magic. And I was laughing because, things happen for you on full moons. Normally, when I finish a book, it's during a Super Bowl. That's happened more than one time where, because as a kid, I don't like football. So I did a lot of my writing during everybody else watching football on Sundays, and I would finish during the Super Bowl, because it was a
That's
longer
funny.
football day. Yeah, it's happened so many times. But it is, we're in a heck of a time. It's going to be so cool to have these stories to tell. And I am so glad I'm a part of it. And I seek and welcome any role I have to play. Uh,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
it's not something to be afraid of, because whatever you are meant to do, you will feel prepared for it in that moment. If it is something
Hmm.
that you are meant to do, I truly believe that. And I've had brain surgery, and the moment before brain surgery, I felt prepared for it. I died, I came back, but like, even in those moments, if you live with the intention that you will be prepared for whatever is supposed to happen, you will be prepared for whatever is supposed to happen, because
Yeah.
you'll just be confident in yourself in every moment.
Hmm.
And that's a huge thing. So that's another really great piece of advice to use, just saying, I am prepared for anything that I need to do in any moment.
Yeah.
And you will be.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it's super valuable. And also just like, yes, everything is weird and funky, but isn't that cool?
I
Like, you'd
know.
rather have it be like cool, right? Like,
Yeah.
and exciting and have all these changes happening and have new news every day. And I know it's exhausting and I know it's a lot, but like, cool. Like,
Mhm.
let's see some new stuff. Like, I'd love a bunch of new stuff to happen on planet. Hopefully it's good new stuff, but
Yeah.
I like that. Like,
Mhm.
I came because I know that I like that and I wanted to embrace that, you know? Anyway,
Two Scorpio
all
moons,
that's to
start a
say,
podcast.
yeah, all that's to say, really, really thrilled that on a personal level, really thrilled that Biden made the decision he did.
Mhm.
Not just for
Yeah.
like the sake of all of us in this country, but also for the sake of him. Because he needs to go like a cabin by the beach and sleep. Like just
Mhm.
go rest. Um, go heal, go feel better. Just go
Mhm.
take some time and just be with your wife and your kid and just go exist.
Yeah.
That would be really awesome.
Mhm.
However, on that note too, when I'm looking at candidate choices of what happens, to not like I obviously have personal predictions on who I think it's going to be, but the energy doesn't feel bad either.
Mhm.
Like I think it's going to be the right choice
Yeah.
to actually make some stuff happen and shift. I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
do.
See, this is where I have to, and I do, right? I blend astrology with mediumship and with intuition. And
Hmm.
sometimes, Charlie, our assistant, asked me about the astrology yesterday before all this happened, and said, "Well, intuitively, where's your mind at?" And I'm like, or what does your gut say? And I was like, sometimes the astrology gets in the way of my gut because I see so much data, and then I can't wrap like the intuition into it. But intuition does happen with what's going on here. And I have the same kind of feeling where whatever happened yesterday unblocked something,
Hmm.
and there is something that is going to flow. There is something that now has there's this little like subdued excitement and joy thing that's trying to build up now. It's like they've unleashed this sprite that is now able to do something.
Hmm.
And I've seen the next couple months of astrology. We still have some pretty active events coming up. And I think that I'm going to choose to anticipate them with excitement and see where it goes, continue to record it and be a witness for the world, which is what I think we all are, especially
Yep.
if you're in an esoteric practice. And I can't wait to witness it and commune with it and make my predictions and then see how they unfold. But I do
Yeah.
think that there's something good coming from this, something like at least good in what I view as good, right?
I will say it definitely feels like our next steps,
Hmm.
you know? And again, I have big predictions around all of this, but it's definitely feels like our next steps
Yeah.
and moving towards the future and not backwards towards the past.
Hmm.
At the very least, we're not having to vote again on the same two people we voted on before.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fun, right? Like,
No more reruns. Yay.
no more reruns. No member berries. We don't want to member.
Mm.
Um, so I mean, at the very least, it's kind of just cool and just in general. And yeah, it's very interesting. So anyway, we wanted to address it. We wanted to talk about it because we know that there's a lot of people that are like anxious about it, which is totally fair. You can totally feel anything you need to feel about anything that's happening, like feel it, completely feel it. That we're not gonna in any way say like, well, you should be fine, it'll be good, whatever. Like, no, feel what you need to feel. Like process through however you need to process through. But also remember, like, you still get to do your thing.
Mhm.
You still get to do your life. You still get to take your steps. And that's exciting. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And that's gonna keep going.
Yeah. And as all of this stuff is unfolding, like I really encourage you to find something exciting in your own personal life. Like as small as the coolest thing, like yesterday, Dan and I just walked outside the house for a while to not look at a screen, to not have news coming into our ears, to not have headlines running in front of our eyes. We walked outside and all of a sudden Zelda, our little corgi baby, went nuts over towards the neighbor's fence, which is totally fine, it's totally secure. There's space between the fences and all that. But then we realized the neighbor was watching another corgi, and it was so cool to see. There were three corgis out back, and it was so adorable. And honestly, just like a little highlight of my day. And if you can find little highlights like that that make you excited because something's just too cute or something is just so personally good for you, find
Mhm.
those too.
Yeah. Look small. Looking small always helps. Nature always helps. Go outside. It really does help. Um, yeah. Also, if you're like, okay, well, if I need to take control of things, or maybe that full moon like closed some stuff for you, and now you're starting a new chapter, which is really what it was. It was a period on the end of a sentence
Oh yeah.
that we had been writing for a while, a long time. And now that closed and new stuff opened, like very significantly. We have stuff to help.
We do. And we
Look
have
at my beautiful segue.
I saw it coming and I was like, wow, flawless. I love
Thank
this.
you. I
Thank you.
appreciate the
Yeah,
props.
so good. So I'm gonna, I think,
Yeah,
jump in on what you're gonna
do
say.
it.
If
Get
you're
it.
looking for a way to feel more in control, get more in your power, especially with your folk magic, your spirituality, and your divination practices, and literally all the things you can imagine to get you set up to be able to run your own spiritual lifestyle and choose which paths do feel aligned for you with options, with exploration. We are running Incense, Outcense, and Other Nonsense, and there are 3 spots still available for 3 people who those spots are sitting there for you.
Yeah.
And that will be
Yeah.
starting in a couple weeks, and it runs for 3 months, and you will have us there personally with you for those 3 months. It will run right up towards early November, and there is the
Yeah.
option where we could even continue to hang out in December.
Yeah. Yeah. December it's not really optional. It's just more of like it's almost like a bonus thing
Mhm,
that we do. It's like a practicum
mhm,
that we do all together. That's a lot more like practice stuff and not so much learning.
mhm,
Which is super fun. But yeah, it's definitely gonna fill up fully. So if you're like on the fence about it and you're like, huh, should I do this? Like this feels aligned. I want to know more about my magic. I want to know more about folk magic and astrology and divination. We're covering like 7 different types of divination practices. like
a lot.
honestly, we showed Charlie, our amazing assistant, we showed Charlie the program curriculum because she was helping us build the page. And she was like, this is so much like it's not overwhelming like to the student, but she's just like, this is stuff people would break into like 5 individual programs and you're doing it in one. And we're like, yep.
Mhm.
Like not that it needs to be in 5 programs, but like people would break it into that way because you could sell 5 full programs to learn all the stuff that we're teaching you in that. And that's how we roll. So we're like, yep,
Yeah.
correct. Like it's just this beautiful foundational understanding of so many different things
Mhm.
that will just help you decide and figure out like what spiritual direction you want to go in with all of the tools you might need to do that. And so we're really excited about it. Honestly, the group is already amazing. Like the people that are in there are just such fun energy and we can already feel that. And it's going to start in a couple of weeks. And yeah, so if you're on the fence, ask for guide validation about it. Go check it out, see if it feels good, and then bug your guides. Be like, hey, am I supposed to be doing this? Is this for me? Like, give me some clarity and validation, and leave it up to them. Like, if it's in your alignment, they'll let you know. And if it's not, then maybe it's not, and that's fine. Like, we'll do it again later. But we know that those 3 people most likely listen to the podcast too. So we would
Mhm.
love to have you in there. It feels good.
Yep.
It feels really good. The other thing I just want to kind of like hint at just slightly. Um, if you're in our Patreons, either one of them,
You already know.
you got a real cool announcement this past week with a real cool opportunity to get in on something before everybody else. So you
Mhm.
already know what we're talking about. For everybody else, we are announcing our next trip location. Not next week, but the week after, the
So
week of the 4th
the week of the
of
4th, is that
August.
what it was? Yeah.
Yeah. So we will be announcing and doing our guessing games and all of that for our next trip location. We are so hyped about it.
It's neat.
Um, I'm so excited. So
It
excited.
launches on the 9th, so we'll be doing our little guessing game, probably the 6th, 7th, and 8th with Q&As and that kind of stuff over the weekend of that. But
Mhm.
if you are in the Patreons of either of us, and even if you joined it right now, you would find in the previous posts, you
Yeah.
would also be able to join. So if that's something you're interested in
Yeah.
knowing, for me, it's any tier. You get
Yeah, me too.
to just jump in.
Yeah. Me too. Any tier. I have a $5 tier and up,
Mhm.
basically.
Same.
Any of those tiers, you can get in on it before everyone else. I will say this is the trip that we've had the least amount of spots available on,
Yeah.
um, for sure. It's also the trip that it is far enough out that the payment plans really will be helpful. Really
Mhm.
will be helpful if you're getting in payment plans. But I mean, both our Egypt trips sold out in less than a day. So just we're doing pre-sale stuff for our patrons going forward.
Mhm.
So that you guys can get in on that before it gets overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that's how it's kind of working on flow. So that's like a lovely little perk for our patrons, but any tier, any tier.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So if you want to go check that out, you can. If not, you will get to know all the deets on the 4th. We're really hyped about it.
Mhm.
I'm so excited. I'm already like making plans for that. We haven't gone to Japan yet. We have Japan, we have 2 Egypt trips, and then we have this trip, and I'm already like making plans for this trip.
Yeah.
So
This is going to be a really great way to celebrate and honor the summer solstice next year.
yeah,
Leaving it that.
yeah, yeah. It occurs on the summer solstice.
Yes,
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 it
it
does.
does.
Oh god, it's gonna be so
I
freaking
can't
cool.
wait.
Oh, that's gonna be so cool. Anyway, there's that. I was gonna say something else.
Well, also, Callum just entered the frame in the background, and I really think it's important that we honor the fact that today, as we're recording this, it is Callum's birthday.
It is
Um,
the best pupper in the whole wide world. It's his birthday. He's
yeah.
8.
Oh, that's
Krista's
Jackson's
met.
too.
Yeah, Krista's met Callum. He's the
Callum
coolest
is a
companion.
good dog.
He
Yeah.
is such a good dog. He's so good, and he understands everything.
Mhm.
Everything you say, he just hangs out. Oh, and now he's gonna get to go for a swim. So Weston just opened the door.
Oh,
Oh, Dad's gonna go take a car ride. Good mom. Okay.
bye, Callum. Happy birthday. Enjoy.
Oh, awesome. Well,
Uh,
thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate you. We're still going to be here.
mhm.
So don't worry. We're
Yep.
good. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you can listen to the podcast.
Yep, we
We
will
will be
be in
around.
Japan on our social media accounts, but we will be right here in our usual spots, holding space with you for the
Yeah.
next 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh. I can't wait to tell you about Japan.
I
Oh my gosh.
know, I
We
know.
haven't even gone yet, but I'm already so excited to do our Japan wrap up. It feels so good. The energy feels so exciting. We have such cool things coming up with that.
Yeah. And speaking of, I know that some people on YouTube were like, hey, can we still get the Italy wrap up? Yes, that was actually going to be this week, but then the weekend happened. So, like I said, I think before, next week will be the Italy wrap up. We will let you know the honest truth of what happened in Italy, and the stellar, incredible people that were there with us.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Yeah. You'll understand next week
mhm.
why we haven't
Why
done
we
it
respect
until
and adore the
now.
people who were in Italy with us so
Yeah.
much.
And why it just took this long. Why it took this
Yeah,
long to get you the
yeah,
recap. Because there's
yeah.
reason.
There is.
Which you'll hear.
Mhm.
Anyway, thank you so much. You guys are the best, and we hope you take all of this energy and you one, two, go make
Go
some
make some
magic.
magic.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't
last week on YouTube, they said that it went really well. So
I believe them.
I believe them too.